Hi everyone, welcome to today's class. Today we are going to discuss about designer drugs. So, over ages, humans fortunately discovered that certain ingested plants were a source of unique, satisfying feelings beyond like uh, and some were mildly effective. For example, we can say like nicotine, caffeine, and other enhanced mood or altered perception or reduced pain, intoxicated or produced euphoria. For example, we can say like alcohol, marijuana, and all. So, in the past 2 centuries, consumption of these psychoactive substances expanded very rapidly, and so many people are using these kind of the drugs that can elevate their mood. So decontamination of these active chemicals distributed by manuals for maximum effect and global marketing contributed to this expansion. These kind of designer drugs are produced in laboratories, as I said before, just before that. So many for increasing the global marketing, they can produce different kinds of drugs. So these drugs are produced in laboratories, the majority resembling drugs legally restricted for distribution and possession. So here comes the forensic importance and as like a forensic issue of these designer drugs. So the drugs which are not used, not like allowed to distribute, they are producing in laboratories, and they share one common trait, producing psychoactive effects that can range from cannabis, psychomotor stimulation or dissociative anesthesia to halogenic. So some examples include like methylone. Some examples of this kind are methylone, then synthetic cannabinoids, and propyl phenolphthalein, then phenolphthaleamine, and all those things. So these are retailed economically as bulk powders and are deceptively labeled as research chemicals. So they are produced in laboratories and they are labeling this as research chemicals, bath salts. So they are labeled like this, bath salts or research chemicals. Then plant food, or like other names, and labeled as not for human consumption. So this is how they are producing these kind of designer drugs, and they can name, or they will label this, and they can retail this like in bulk powders as like this. They can you like they will do like this, they will label like bath salt, research chemical, plant food, incense food, or by other names, and label as not for human consumption. And the designer drug industry is a like niche business with a simple strategy to like circumvent existing drug laws and endorse their products as legal, and create new markets with rapid profits, and undercut producers and prices of common illegal drugs, and undermine the routine clinical drug testing. So why they are producing these kind of designer drugs? They want to make a business strategy, and they want to increase the profit by making this as legal. So the illegal products, they are doing some modifications, and they are taking these products in the market as legal. So for that thing, they are making, or they are doing some simple strategies for that one. So that why that is for, that is to circumvent existing drug laws and endorse their products as legal, and create new markets with rapid profits and undercut producers and prices of common illegal drugs and undermine the routine clinical drug testing. And consumers misinterpret these kind of drugs as legal, so the consumers don't know whether they are illegal or legal. If they are selling this in the market, and people are thinking, okay, this is a plant food or something like that, and they are thinking this as legal and less hazardous than conventional street drugs. So they are more going to that one, and they are taking these kind of illegal drugs, and thinking that they are legal. Okay, this is not that much harmful, so that I can consume it like that. And they are more challenging to detect and easier to evade routine clinical drug testing. So it will not affect this kind of routine clinical drug testing will be there, and that is like it is very challenging to detect in that kind of clinical drug testing, so that people can easily they are more attracted to these designer drugs. And standard strip test do not identify most of these compounds. So nonetheless, these most drugs or their metabolites are effortlessly isolated from biological samples, including hair samples, and can be identified in laboratories with standard or advanced analytical techniques. So in the routine test, it will not be that much we can't find out these kind of drugs, and we have to go to these kind of sophisticated analytical techniques, and for that kind of testing and all. And the designer drugs may evoke psychoactive effects similarly to the parent drug, but or they can stimulate or more intense amplified unique or life threatening response in some cases or occasionally. So these new drugs are designed or covered that have neither precedent they are they have no long history of abuse and all. So they are mainly using this in throughout during these 1960s and all, and from that period we are using this kind of designer drugs. So that is about the designer drugs, and the designer drugs may evoke psychoactive effects similar to that parent drug, as I said. So this is just an introduction about designer drugs. So designer drugs, they are produced in laboratories, and the majority of designer drugs resemble their parents, and they are we'll think that they are legally selling these products, but they are illegal. And but we cannot find out this in our routine test and all. That's why consumers are more attractive towards these designer drugs. And classification, next is classification of designer drugs. So designer drugs can be classified by their chemical structure, by their psychoactive properties, and by their biological targets, or by their source, like whether it is plant or whether it is synthetic, whether it is combined and all. So how can they classify? They can classify it according to their chemical structure, and they can classify by their psychoactive property. They can classify by their biological target, or they can classify by their source. So here designer drugs are classified into three. First one is cathinones, designer drug. Second one is cannabinoid, designer drug. And third one is hallucinogens, designer drug. So first one is cathinones, designer drug. Second one is cannabinoids, designer drug. And third one is hallucinogen, designer drug. So what is cathinones, designer drug? So the drugs most found in bath salt. So I told that they are labeling or packing this as bath salts, and not for human consumption. They will label like that in the front of the packet. So the drugs most found in bath salts are substituted cathinones that are like synthetic derivatives of the stimulant chemical in cut. And bath salt are disguised as plant foods, insect repellents, stain removers, and sold under brand names such as Bliss, Blue Silk, then Cloud9, then like Ivory Wave, then Ocean Based. So likewise, they will in these brand names they will sold these kind of bath salts, that is the synthetic or substituted cathinones designer drugs. So these products are sold as powders in small plastic or foil packages in 200 to 500 gram micrograms. So the milligram. So these kind of bath salts, they are substituted cathinones, so they are packed as these kind of plant foods, insect repellent, stain removers and all, and they are packed in small packets, and they will give the brand name as Bliss, Blue Seal, Cloud9, Ivory Wave, then White Dove, and all these kind of names they will give, and they will sold these kind of powders in small packets or foil packages. And these compounds are very easy to prepare and can be chemically molded like in different ways to produce the stimulants, like hallucinogens or like cocaine or amphetamine, like psychostimulant drugs and all those things. So, and these chemicals are packed as bath salt. So that is cathinones designer drugs. Mainly they are phenyl, like phenethylamine. Mainly these cathinones designer drugs are phenylethylamine. So these are found in in brain and in the and is the backbone for most of the stimulant type of designer drugs. So these compounds are very easy to make, as I said, and they are they sell or they sold these as in packets. So next is cannabinoid designer drugs. So cannabinoid designer drugs, there are of three types. The first one is phytocannabinoids, second one is endocannabinoids, and third one is synthetic cannabinoids. So phytocannabinoids, these are produced by plants. Phytocannabinoids, these are produced by plants, and the marijuana plant produces over 70 phytocannabinoids. Which plant? Marijuana plant, almost 70 cannabinoids they produce. And THC, I told you in the earlier session what is THC. THC means tetrahydrocannabinol. So this tetrahydrocannabinol or THC is found at much higher concentration than any other cannabinoid in the common cannabis sativa plant, one of the several plants that produce cannabinoids. So these phytocannabinoids are produced from plants. So the second one is endocannabinoids. So these are produced by brain and other organs. So these are produced by brain and other organs, and the body produces seven or more endocannabinoids, two of which are widely distributed and function in cannabinoid signaling. So these resemble which resemble but not are identical to cannabinoids of plant origin. So these endocannabinoids are not of plant origin, but they resemble like plant origin, and they are produced from the brain and other organs. And third one is synthetic cannabinoids. So these synthetic cannabinoids are developed over the last 30 years as a research tool to explore cannabinoid systems in the brain and other organs, and to discover the feasibility of developing cannabinoid medications. So this is used as a research tool to identify the or to explore the cannabinoid system of the brain. So these are the three types of cannabinoid designer drugs. phytocannabinoids, endocannabinoids, and synthetic cannabinoids. Phytocannabinoids are produced from plants, that is from like cannabis sativa. Then cannabinoids are produced from the, or they are producing by the brain and other organs, and synthetic cannabinoids are used as research tool to explore cannabinoid systems in the brain. So this is about cannabinoids designers drugs, and the third one is hallucinogens designer drugs. So these hallucinogens are the and other psychoactive drugs have evolved in street drugs, and like some examples I can tell, like phenylethylamine. So second one is salvinorin A, and tryptamines, dissociative anesthetics, like ketamine and PCP. So like this, these phenylethylamine derivative potencies have been increased by locking the structure more rapidly to produce compounds designed as FLY. Some are exceptionally potent, and like some are like related with an overdose death. So these can make the person like potent, and some are used as party pills for party and all those things. So that is hallucinogen designer drugs. So these are the three types of classification of the designer drugs: hallucinogen designer drugs, cannabinoid designer drugs, and cathinones designer drugs. So this cannabinoid communication or a signaling system has three major components. I forgot to tell that. So these are like a chemical message or a neurotransmitter. So from the like these endocannabinoids, they are produced from brain, I told. So they will act as a chemical message. They will send a chemical message or act as a neurotransmitter, then a receptor that interprets the message. So the receptor will interpret the message, and the enzyme that degrades the message. So all designer cannabinoids mimic the psychoactive effects of marijuana, with some considerably more potent than marijuana, and their metabolites may differ biologically from marijuana. So this is a designer drug. So that means some difference will be there from the phytocannabinoids, but they will act as this kind of like marijuana or that kind of drugs. So that is about cannabinoid designers drugs. So this is the classification and just an introduction of designer drugs. So designer drugs are produced in laboratories resembling the another parent drug, and they are legally selling, as they, although they are like illegal. So this is about designer drugs. So in the next class we will discuss about some notable designer drugs examples, such as methamphetamine, then like met- mecculone and all those things. So I hope you understood here till here. If you have any doubts, you can clear. Thank you.